Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It is Crystal here. In this video, what we're going to be talking about is lesson 9 and 10 of my free course, Beginner's Excel course on YouTube. And so this is the final video for this free course. And basically, lesson 9, 10, and 10 is a accumulation of everything that you studied from lesson 1 to lesson 8. And so if you've watched all of the lessons from lesson 1 to lesson 8 and all of the videos, then you should be able to do what's in lesson 9 and 10. Because I've covered everything. I've covered everything in this course. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to go into Excel, but in the earlier videos, in the earlier lessons, you learned how to actually get into Excel, how to create a file, how to open a file, how to close a file, how to save a file. So we're not going to do that in this video because you've already done it in previous lessons. So we're just going to come over here to Excel where I've got the file. And so this is lesson 9 and 10. For lesson 9, what you need to do is you need to do a mini project on your own. And you should be able to do the mini project because everything that in the mini project has been covered in previous lessons. So the goal of this mini project is to apply everything learned in the previous 8 lessons in one task. And the project is to create a simple monthly budget spreadsheet that includes categories, amounts, total spending, a chart, and basic formatting. And then so if you look at one of my previous lessons, see if we can find, nope. Okay, so this is the previous lesson. And so in this previous lesson, we actually did a monthly spending report. So if you go back to, if you're not sure about what to do, if you go back to lesson 4 and you watch lesson 4 again, and you can stop lesson 4 and then go into your spreadsheet and do what it says to do, then you should be able to make that monthly budget. Because this report here is a report for a monthly budget. It's a report from 17 June 2026 to 11 July 2026. So that's just short of a month. So I've told you where you need to go to actually complete your monthly budget. It's lesson 4 of this course. So if you're not sure what to do, go back to lesson 4 of the course, and that will help you. That will give you some insight. So basically it said categories, amounts, total spending, a chart, and basic formatting. And that's a good place to start. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about lesson 10. And lesson 10 is you're given a quiz. So question number 1 is, what symbol must every formula start with? Every formula must start with an equal sign. So it's going to be like equals 1 plus 2. That's a very simple formula. Gives you 3. So every formula must start with equals 1 plus 2. And we'll just move it over here. Equals 2 times 4. Now we're going to say 2 times 4. The answer is 8. So you get 8. And then the next question is, which function adds numbers together? So which function adds numbers together is the sum function. So you can say, we've got over here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to unembolden that one. So one way you can do it is equals SUM, that's a sum. And then brackets. And then you highlight the range of cells that you want to add together. Put another bracket in there, but it should do it automatically. And your total is 15. Another way that you can do it is, you can do formulas, and you can do auto sum, and it's exactly the same question, but this is just another icon. So it's going to be I1, and then colon lets you know that it's more than 1. Then I6, I think it is, or I5. So that should be 15 as well. So that's 2 ways you can do it. You can just type it in yourself, which is what I normally do, or you can use AutoSum. And AutoSum will give you average, count numbers, max, min, and then you get more functions as well. And then so it'll give you more functions. So that is how you add the numbers together using the sum function. Okay. And then we're just going to clear this out. So what you do is with your finger pad, you highlight the cells that you want to clear. You double click with your finger pad, and then you say clear contents. And then say, how do you autofill a sequence? So this is one way you can autofill a sequence. You can say this is your first number 1. So your second number is going to be number 2. But you're going to say, what you're going to do is you're going to say equals I1 plus 1. So you're going to get another formula. And so you come over here to autofill. You see the little square on the lower right hand side. And you take your little cross. And then with your left hand, you touch the finger pad. And with your right hand, you bring it down. And you can see that you've done an autofill. Another way that you can do an autofill is the days of the week. So you've got Monday. So click on that. Click on Monday with your finger pad. Put the X on the square with your left finger. Touch the touchpad, and then with your right finger, move the touchpad all the way down, and you can see that we've got days of the week. Another thing that you can do is months of the year. So you've got January. So basically for January, you come over here and again, you take that little square on the lower right hand side of the cell, and using your finger pad, you take the cross hairs and you put the cross on that square. With your left hand, you hang on to the you put your finger on the finger pad, and with your right hand you bring it all the way down, and again you got month of the year. So now you got the days of the week, the months in a sequence. So that's how you do autofill. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear this, double tap on the cells that you have selected, and you say clear content. And then so ask the question, what is the difference between a workbook and a worksheet? So a workbook is the file that we've got open. So the file that we've got open for this course is Beginner Excel Course. That's the file. And then the worksheet is all of the spreadsheets within the file. So you can see you've got worksheet 1 is lesson 2, worksheet 2 is lesson 3, worksheet 3 is lesson 4, worksheet 4 is lesson 5, worksheet 5 is lesson 6, worksheet 6 is lesson 7.0, worksheet 7 is lesson 7.1, worksheet 8 is pivot 7.1, and worksheet 9 is lesson 9 and 10. So that's the difference between a workbook and a worksheet. So your Excel spreadsheet has several tabs in it, and you can open up a new tab to make a new worksheet. And then how do you sort the smallest from the largest? So we'll come over here. We're going to give you some numbers, just some random numbers. Just thinking of some random numbers. And these are just some numbers that I'm making up. So I've just got some numbers here. So if you want to sort these numbers, then what you do is you highlight the cells that you want to sort. You do that by clicking onto the top cell and taking Shift and your arrow keys and moving the arrow keys all the way down until you have clicked on the cells. And then so you come over here to your Data tab, come over here to Sort. So sort says column I, yeah, that's what we want. Says you can sort on cell values, that's all they've got. And you can sort from smallest to largest, and you click OK. So now the smallest number is 0, and the largest number is 76. So if you want to sort it again, column I, cell values, now you can sort largest to smallest. And then so you've got the largest is 76 and the smallest is 0. So that's how you sort the values. So now you're highlighted on those values. So you just double click with your finger pad and you click on Clear Contents. So let's look at this now that we've got a little bit of time. Let's work on this mini project. And then so what we're going to do is we're going to say, we go to column I, say create a monthly budget spreadsheet that includes categories, amounts, total spending, a chart, and basic format. So we're going to say monthly budget. So we're going to say monthly budget. We want to embolden it. So we go to the Home tab and click on To Be. And then we'll say, we can say categories. So we're going to say rent, council tax, because in the UK you have to pay council tax. I want to make this column a little bit bigger. We're going to say water bill. We're going to say electricity. Water bill, electricity. We're going to say MS Office. because I pay for that. Phone, mobile phone. So we're going to have rent, council tax, water, electricity, MS Office, because I pay for that, mobile phone. We're going to say groceries. We're going to say eating out. We're going to say clothing. And we'll say bus fare because my boyfriend has to buy a bus ticket. So I think that's it. Rent, council tax. Those are the two main things that you have to keep a roof over your head. Water, electricity. I don't have any gas. You have Microsoft Office. I do pay for Microsoft Office. Mobile phone, groceries, eating out, clothing, bus fare. So those are your categories. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select those cells, and I'm going to type Control X, and then I'm going to move it down 2 rows. Well, maybe 1 row. Maybe 1 row. Control X. Move it up 1 row. Okay, so we're going to say here is category. So that's your category. We're going to embolden that to do our formatting or monthly budget. We're going to make it italic. It doesn't have to be italic, but you can make it italic. Or let's do an underline. Let's do a monthly budget underline. Let's do a category as underline. So we've got our categories. We've got our amount. And then so we got our amount. So if you want the amount to be the same as category, you come over here to the clipboard and to the little paintbrush. You click on the paintbrush and click amount. I didn't do that right. Click on the category, in the cell category. You go to the paintbrush, click on the paintbrush, and then you click on the amount. And what that does is that makes amount the same as the category. So we're going to do the rent is $500. Council tax, my council tax, I'm going to say $135. It's not quite $135, but I'm just rounding it up. Water bill, we're going to say $50. So yeah, 55 times 12 is 600. So that's about how much I pay a year. Electricity is 100. MS Office is 11, because I'm just rounding everything up to the nearest 5 pounds. Mobile phone is 50. Actually, I think it's more than 50. We'll say 60. So I'm paying about 700 in the area of 720 pounds a year for my mobile phone, and I get it interest free for 3 years. And I wanted to actually see how much it would cost for me to buy my own mobile phone. But the mobile phone I have, which is not an expensive one, it's a Samsung, and it's an A series. And the A series is supposed to be budget. It was still 300 or 400 pounds. And so I have to pay, well, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 pounds a month to rent my mobile phone, to get unlimited data, unlimited text, to phone my mother 100 minutes a month. And I pay £3 a month for some insurance for my screen protector. Groceries, I'm going to say 100. I don't really keep track of how much I spend on groceries, but that's emboldened, so I'm going to take the emboldened out. So I'm going to say 100 a month, because I buy the groceries for both myself and my boyfriend, but sometimes he gives me money. So I'm going to say £100 a month. Eating out, I'm going to say £100 a month. And the reason why I say that it's because I go buy a salad every day that I'm at work. I buy a salad in the dining facility, and it's not cheap. It's $3.75. And then sometimes I buy a hot chocolate at sometimes I buy a hot chocolate at the Starbucks in the hospital. And sometimes when we go on a Friday, we go for lunch at Mr. T's, and that's £5. So I'm not extravagant and I'm not frivolous. So I'm just going to say £100 a month for eating out. Clothing, I'm just going to say £150. But generally, I try to get my clothing at handouts. But the thing is that there was this one place called Queen's Arms where they were giving clothing, and they decided that they weren't going to give clothing anymore because they say that they're not a clothing charity. But there's another place that you can go to, which is the Way Ministry, and they give away food and clothing. But you never know what kind of clothes that you're going to get. You never know. The only thing that they can give you is things that people have donated. So more often than not, you're not going to get any clothing. So I have to go to charity shops and like cheap places like Primark and Poundland. But when you go to cheap places to get clothing, it's obvious that the cloth that the clothing is made out of is really cheap. So that's one problem that you have with going to cheap places to get clothing, because the fabric is really cheap, and you can tell that the fabric is really cheap and it doesn't last as long. But I was recently visiting my boyfriend's mother, and she lives in a coastal town, and there's lots of elderly pensioners there who have a bit more money than I have. And I went looking in the charity shops in that town, and I got a few items of clothing there. So that should keep me going until the next time I go visit her, hopefully. And then the next thing that, even when I was at the charity shop, I paid £2 for a red t-shirt. And this lady said, "Oh, the till didn't work. You have to do it again." So I did it again. And then I checked my bank statement on my phone, and I had been double charged for this t-shirt. So instead of paying £2 for it, I was having to pay £4 for it. And the thing is that I was leaving the town that day, so I couldn't go back and say, "Look, I want a £2 refund or a credit note." So basically that charity shop got a £2 donation, and I really can't afford to be giving money to charity. I'm a charity case myself. So basically I just take it that charity shop got a £2 donation. We're going to say bus fare. I have a bus pass because I'm disabled, but my boyfriend has to buy a bus pass. So we're just going to say bus fare here. So I'm going to widen this column a little bit more to have mobile phone in there. So my boyfriend has to buy a bus pass, so I'll just put bus fare in there. And then it says total spending. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say total. And I misspelled that, didn't I? And then what we're going to do is we're going to format the cells, format the numbers. And so you highlight the cells that you want to format, and you double click and you go to format cells. And then you can say accounting, because that's what we're doing, is accounting. Decimal, we're not going to worry about any decimal places. Pounds, we're not going to worry about any pounds. That's going to none. We're going to click OK. But what we can do over here is amount. So that lets you know that the amount is in pounds. And we're going to widen this column a little bit too to get everything in there. And so we want to embolden this. So you highlight the total in the next cell and you type B. And then, so we're gonna, now what we want to do is we want to total the spending. So equals sum, brackets, and then we highlight the cells that we want to sum, and you press enter. And so our total is 1,181 pounds. And so basically what that's saying is also, like, I didn't include any ancillary expenses in this budget. And the reason why is because today I have to go out and buy a new bed frame. So I didn't include the bed frame. The bed frame is going to be about 125 pounds. So I did not include the bed frame in this budget. So what we could do is we can say, we can highlight total and the total, and you can type Control X because you're going to delete it, and then you're going to move your cursor down to the next row and you type Control V. So Control C is copy and Control V is paste. But if you want to copy and then delete that entry, then it's Control X. So now we're going to say emergency, because you never know when you're going to have an emergency. And the reason why is because in addition to me having to get a new bed frame, just the other day, I noticed that my air fryer, the handle on my air fryer is going. So that means I'm going to have to buy a new air fryer really soon. So we're going to put 100 pounds for an emergency. And you can see that the sum automatically calculated it. So it's J4 to J14. So my total is 1,281. So that's how much money I need to last me the month, just to break even. And then if I spend more than that, then what I have to do is I have to dip into my savings. So basically, if I need anything extra from the tiny little bit of money that I get from my sickness benefit and the tiny little bit of money I get from my job where I'm doing permitted work, I have to dip into my savings. And the thing is, it's like when you are disabled and you're on sickness benefit, the government wants to keep you poor. So you're only allowed to work so many hours and you're only allowed to make so much money because the government wants to keep you poor. So that's the total. And then what we can do is we can change the formatting on this 1281 again. So we can, you highlight the cell, the 1281, and then you double click on it. You say Format Cells. So we come over here to Border. So we can click here on the top text with the single underline. Click here on the bottom text with the double underline, and then you click OK, and you see that's your total. And that's it. That's our budget. And it says, so we've done our categories, we've done our amounts, we've done our total spending. So now what we want is we want to make a chart. So what you do is you highlight the cells that you want to make a chart on. And you use your shift and your arrow key. So we've highlighted the cells that we want to make a chart on. You click on to insert. We're going to come over here to recommended charts. And then so you can make any kind of chart that you want. I'm going to say a pie chart. So you've got a pie chart. And then if you want to have a different type of pie chart, you can click on the paintbrush, and the paintbrush will give you different types of pie charts that you can use. So you've got a selection of pie charts. So let's try this one. Okay, so that's our selection. So you've got 39%, I think that's going to be rent. And then it tells you what percentage you're spending on each item. So that's interesting. And so now we've got a chart. But if you think it's too busy, because it does look a bit busy, if you think it's too busy, you can come over here and like maybe try this chart. So that looks better. That tells you what your emergency is 8%, your bus fare is 6%, clothing is 4%, eating out is 8%, groceries is 8%, mobile phone is 4%, MS Office is 1%, electricity is 8%, water is 4%, council tax is 10%, and rent is 39%. So my highest expense is rent, which I already knew that. So what we've done here is we've actually done this mini project because I had a little bit of time left. So we created a simple monthly budget spreadsheet that includes categories. We've got our categories in there. Amounts, we've got our amounts in there. Total spending, we've got our total spending in there. We've got a chart and we've got basic formatting. So what we've done is we've done the mini project. So if you weren't sure how to do the mini project, well, all you have to do is watch this video and you can make your own mini project because we've done the mini project already. That was lesson 9, and then we've done lesson 10, the quiz. So that completes this video. That completes this lesson. This is the final lesson in the course, Basic Excel course. So if you have watched all of the videos, which is 10 lessons, congratulations. Congratulations, you completed the course. And so what I'll be doing at some point is I will be making an intermediate Excel course so you can learn about intermediate topics. But you did actually cover some intermediate topics in this lesson, in this course, because we covered pivot tables, and pivot tables are not basic Excel, but I decided to show you pivot tables anyway. And the reason why I decided to show you pivot tables anyway is because it's a good thing to know. And if you're going for a job interview, it's nice to tell an employer that you know how to use pivot tables. So that concludes this video, that concludes this lesson, and that concludes this course. Congratulations for watching all the videos and doing all of the recommended coursework, and I will be communicating with you in the next course.